Have you ever wondered how the world map got its current shape? It wasn't always through grand battles and public treaties. Sometimes, the fate of millions was decided in quiet, smoke-filled rooms. Through secret deals that redrew borders and created the very nations we know today. Let's pull back the curtain on some of the most pivotal secret agreements in history. First up, let's travel back to 1916, right in the middle of World War I. The Ottoman Empire was crumbling, and to major powers, Britain and France, saw an opportunity in a clandestine agreement known as the Sykes-Picot Agreement. They secretly carved up the Middle East for themselves. Mark Sykes for Britain and François-Georges Picot for France literally drew lines on a map, deciding which areas would fall under British or French control or influence after the war. This single agreement laid the groundwork for many of the modern borders of countries like Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and Jordan. The problem was, these lines were drawn without any regard for the local populations, their ethnic identities, or their historical connections. This created a complex web of tensions and conflicts that, in many ways, we're still dealing with today. It's a classic example of how a secret pact made thousands of miles away can have lasting, real-world consequences for generations. But that's not the only secret deal from that era. At the same time Sykes and Picot were drawing their lines, the British were also making promises to other groups. To encourage an Arab revolt against the Ottomans, they promised Arab leaders, through the McMahon-Hussein correspondence, an independent Arab state. This directly contradicted their plans with the French. Then, in 1917, came the Balfour Declaration, where Britain promised its support for the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. So you have three conflicting promises, made in secret, concerning the same piece of land. It was a recipe for disaster, and the fallout from these contradictory deals has shaped the geopolitics of the Middle East ever since. Now let's jump across the Atlantic and a few decades forward, to the height of World War II. The Yalta Conference in 1945 is famous for bringing together the Big Three: Roosevelt, Churchill, and Stalin. While much of their discussion was public, a secret protocol was also agreed upon. This protocol essentially handed over Eastern Europe to the Soviet sphere of influence. Stalin promised to allow free elections in countries like Poland, Czechoslovakia, and Hungary, but in reality, this secret understanding gave him the green light to install communist governments. For the next 45 years, the Iron Curtain would divide Europe, a direct consequence of a secret agreement made to secure Soviet cooperation in ending the war. The people living in these nations had no say in the matter. Their fate was decided by leaders of foreign powers in a Crimean resort town. But secret deals aren't always about carving up empires. Sometimes they're about creating new alliances. Think about the formation of Germany. In the 19th century, Germany was just a collection of independent states. The man who changed that was Otto von Bismarck, the Chancellor of Prussia. He was a master of secret diplomacy. In 1866, to isolate his main rival, Austria, Bismarck secretly allied with Italy. He promised them the territory of Venetia, which was then under Austrian control, if they joined Prussia in a war against Austria. The deal worked perfectly. When the Austro-Prussian War broke out, Austria had to fight on two fronts. They were quickly defeated, paving the way for Prussia to unite the northern German states. This secret alliance was a crucial chess move that directly led to the creation of the German Empire just a few years later. Let's not forget the story of Texas. Did you know a secret treaty played a huge role in its journey to becoming part of the United States? In 1836, after Texas won its independence from Mexico, the captured Mexican president, Santa Anna, signed the treaties of Velasco. One was public, and one was secret. The public treaty ended the fighting, but the secret one had Santa Anna promise to recognize Texan independence and push for a border at the Rio Grande. Mexico later disavowed this secret treaty, arguing Santa Anna signed it under duress. This dispute over the treaty and the border was a major factor leading to the Mexican-American War a decade later, which ultimately resulted in the U.S. acquiring not just Texas but a massive swath of territory that now includes California, Nevada, Utah, and Arizona. Now for a deal so secret it remained hidden for decades, the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact of 1939. On the surface, it was a non-aggression pact between Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union, Two ideological enemies. It shocked the world, but the real bombshell was in its secret protocol. This protocol divided Poland between them and carved up Finland, Romania, and the Baltic states of Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania into German and Soviet spheres of influence. A week after the pact was signed, Germany invaded Poland from the west, and 2 weeks later, the Soviet Union invaded from the east. World War II had begun. This cynical deal allowed dictators to pursue their expansionist goals without fighting each other, at least for a while. And it sealed the fate of millions who were absorbed into totalitarian empires against their will. The existence of this secret protocol was denied by the Soviet Union until 1989. These are just a few examples of how the modern world was shaped not just on the battlefield, but in back rooms and through whispered promises. These secret deals show us that history is often far more complex and messy than the official stories we learn. They remind us that the lines on our maps, the flags we fly, and the very identities of our nations can sometimes be traced back to a handshake, a signature, and a secret that was never meant to see the light of day. What we see as permanent, historical fact was often, at one point, a controversial, clandestine arrangement. It really makes you think about the hidden forces that have shaped, and continue to shape, our world. Thanks for watching. If you found this dive into secret history fascinating, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more stories that you weren't taught in school. See you next time.